Greetings, ninth grade scholars. Nefertari and Kinjay here with Week 2, Lesson 5 for Grade 9 ELA. Today's video will contain a list of the resources and materials you need for the lesson, a brief overview of the learning for today, some of the reading, thinking, speaking, and listening you will expect from today, and a preview of the learning for upcoming lessons. Let's start with this overview of learning, the reading, thinking, talking, and writing that you can expect from today's lesson. With a family member, caregiver, or friend, please reread the text, authors William Shakespeare, and annotate for any and all use of figurative language. Then think about this fact and question. During Shakespeare's time, the English language was not standardized and grammar textbooks did not exist yet. This allowed authors and playwrights to have fun with and expand the language. How many words and expressions did William Shakespeare add to the English language? Talk with your family member, caregiver, or friend about which of Shakespeare's expressions of figurative language do we use when we're speaking every day. And then lastly, we will engage in a jumpstart writing activity and academic vocabulary. In terms of an overview of our learning for the week of April 20th through 24th, the materials needed are your learning packet, a pencil or a pen, and an electronic device or a smartphone. For this week, we're going to focus on a jumpstart activity and academic vocabulary. What's our story, you might ask, for this week? Well, it's William Shakespeare. This is not unfamiliar to you all ninth grade scholars, and you are now resident experts on William Shakespeare's biography. Because we are using the same text, it allows us to get even deeper in terms of our close read and noticing details that the author wants each of us to be aware of. In the overview for our learning, let's see what we're focusing on today. For today's lesson, we're going to use the same guiding questions and essential question to lead us toward our learning. Our target is that you can determine the impact, the cultural impact that Shakespeare had on American society. So here you see a brief outline of our goals for the entire week. And today's goal is to focus on Shakespeare's cultural impact. So as we focus on his cultural impact, you should be thinking about the fact that language was not even standardized or formal during Shakespeare's time. In fact, there weren't any grammar books, and that allowed authors, playwrights, poets to be creative. Shakespeare was creative, and he added so much to the English language. How much, do you ask? Well, this week, we will focus on Shakespeare Says. This premier activity in our week's lessons will allow us to see how many phrases Shakespeare actually contributed to our English language. So, we have a jumpstart question, as I've referenced earlier. That question is, how has Shakespeare had an impact upon American culture? And you might not even want to answer that question until you move on to our academic vocabulary activity. That activity allows us to focus on what Shakespeare says and to see the different phrases that Shakespeare introduced to the English language. You've heard some of these phrases, students. Maybe you had a hungry phase at home and your mom or dad said, "Quit eating us out of house and home." Well, to eat someone out of house and home isn't literal. It's a figurative phrase, meaning that you're driving your parents to be poor. They're having to purchase too many groceries to keep up with your appetite. Did you know that that saying was from Shakespeare? It was. So, using Examples like this, we will learn about figurative language. What is figurative language, you might ask? Figurative language is when you use a word or a phrase not in its everyday use, not its literal meaning, but figurative meaning. It includes similes, metaphors, oxymorons, and hyperboles, comparisons, exaggerations, and it's a way of speaking in poetic form. As a quick model of the reading and thinking needed for this week, I'd like you to focus on this page and section of our text, writing style. If we look at Shakespeare's writing style, you do get a clue to help you answer that jumpstart question. It tells you that Shakespeare's plays were written in an innovative style. Innovative meaning new, fresh, for the period in which he lived. And an example of figurative language has already been highlighted in green for you. There is a period in Shakespeare's life where no records exist. Scholars call this period the lost years. There weren't really lost years. That's an example of figurative language. So your jumpstart question, how has Shakespeare had an impact upon American culture? We just gave you a hint in answering that question. And then next, analyze the figurative language in this activity Shakespeare says. Please choose 3 of Shakespeare's expressions and use them properly in a sentence. Simple enough. It helps us to know that you do understand the meaning and the proper use of figurative language. There are some reminders for you all, scholars, for this week. We have to remind you to share your lesson with someone every day. Interact because this enhances your learning. Always share your lesson, have a discussion with a family member, or call a friend. Complete 20 minutes of reading per day, scholars. After you finish each day's lesson, always read 20 minutes of the reading material of your choice, and then you want to complete that reading log. Lastly, engage in your daily fluency exercise. That will be simple enough. Use the instructions that are in your packet, as well as just one page of the weekly text. So choose the page of Shakespeare that you would like to use. And continue to work hard, scholars. Yes, work, but play as well. Wiz Khalifa inspires us, yes. All right, figurative language from Wiz Khalifa. Thank you, Wiz. As a preview of our upcoming learning, tomorrow we will engage in 3 activities: a quick write, a close reading activity, and then 1 single comprehension question. I look forward to working with each of you. A reminder of our close reading routine: we annotate, we question, and then we draw a conclusion. Thank you for your attention today, scholars. I look forward to day 2 of week 2's learning, ELA for 9th grade. If you have any questions about this learning, email your teacher for support. As always, first name dot last name at detroitk12.org. Bye. Thank you.